The worst generation. So true. TikTok brain rot. I saw the Zoomers font.
Have you ever tried to have a conversation with someone, but every time you try to get a word in, someone else comes along and talks over you? That's kind of what it's like being Gen Z. Even though we're all grown up now, every time we try to talk, someone older comes along to tell us to shut up. It's kind of annoying, honestly. Every week, some glorified blogger calling themselves a journalist writes an article talking about everything wrong with our generation. But the moment—
people did that with millennials, and then Gen Z came around. Now Gen Z's the new scapegoat because they're the youngest. Gen Z is gonna do this to Gen Alpha when that eventually comes to fruition.
Any one of us tries to speak up, there's 5 more people telling us why we're wrong. Disagreements between different generations isn't a new thing, but when you're Gen Z, you're stuck in this weird position where nobody respects your opinion, but they always feel a need to
put the fries in the bag, little bro.
Insert themselves in your conversation. We're at the bottom of the totem pole beneath the washed up millennials and our Gen X parents. And there's also the baby boomers, but they're kind of on the way out. I don't sit here and pretend to know what it's like to be Gen X.
I'm joking, by the way. God, don't fucking take that seriously. No, come on.
X or a millennial, but everyone seems to think they know what it's like to be Gen Z. I understand that you were my age once too, but believe it or not, things are different. Don't act like when you were my age, you didn't have to turn your phone backwards to take a selfie. I noticed that the people who do this the most tend to be millennials. Probably because before we became the worst generation, they were the ones who got all the hate. And
not pre-watched because this is a generational issue.
I will admit, a lot of their experiences are similar to ours, but instead of being chill about it, a lot of millennials just come off as bitter. Rejected again, bro. How hard is it to find a new job these days? Nobody wants to hire anybody young. Hey man, at least they didn't ghost you this time like most companies. I still haven't heard back from that one place. Well,
I'm gonna be real with you. Whenever I complained to my brother for a little while until he got a little bit older and he became a lot more chill. They will get more chill. My brother gave me so much shit. I'll be like, yeah, I got rejected from my 5th job offer, and he's like, only 5? At least you got a call back or something. And I'm like, it's not a competition. You can just make it relatable and say, yeah, that fucking sucks. You can get him old champion. Come on. You can do a little poggers.
Wow. Looks like Gen Z is finally starting to figure it out. Welcome to the real world, kids.
Yeah.
This isn't anything new. I remember when they told us, just go to college, get your degree, and it'll all work out. All lies. You might as well give it up now. There's no hope for the future. You get that degree. There's
more relatability with millennials and Gen Z than there is between millennials and Gen X. Change my mind. You can't. There is way more relation with how fucked the world is, because the only reason that there's any difference is because you kind of grew up in a different what is it called? Pop culture. Yeah, millennials and Gen Z are kind of just experiencing the same thing, except there's an age gap.
And no one wants to
unless you're a giga old millennial, I guess, but for the most part, most people are kind of fucked.
Hire you, so you end up working a soul-sucking customer service job like this for 10 years. Then your girlfriend leaves you because she says the spark is gone, but you're too drained to even care. Now you drown your sorrows with video games and a geek bar every night. But at least they added Goku to Fortnite, so you have
at least I can still gwitty on the little kids.
Something to live for. Hey, are you guys even listening to me? What was that guy talking about over there? I don't know. Bro, thanks for listening to that yap sesh. Facts, bro. Yo, check out this girl that DM'd me yesterday. Oh, she kind of bad, though. I'm saying. I think that the relationship between millennials and Gen Z is interesting because they went through the same things we're going through only a few years before. but our experiences are still drastically different in some areas. Computers and the internet started taking over the world when they were teens and young adults, while we were born into the digital age. Social media changed the way they communicated with.
Fun fact, more Gen Z have issues with media internet literacy than millennials that grew up with it basically when they were growing into it. Because they didn't have to learn everything for themselves with like really basic primitive technology compared to what it is now. Yeah, it's an actual fact. It's interesting, but it's true.
Each other, and it changed the way we grew up entirely. I've noticed that while the average Gen Z mind is filled with TikTok brain rot and Vine references, millennials as a generation seem to carry a lot of angst. I suppose that being the first generation of the digital era, millennials came into a world that promised them a lot and didn't really deliver on any of it.
And there's a lot of nostalgia. That's the other thing. Massive amounts of nostalgia.
They watched the rules of the world change, while every generation before them told them it was their fault. They were the young, dumb kids once, and now Gen Z is walking in their footsteps and calling them old. I think that deep down, Gen Z does have a lot of—
I'm 32, am I cooked, chat? That reminds me of a VTuber posting on Twitter the other day. She's like, I turned 30 like last week. Am I cooked, chat? And I'm like, girl, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's just a number. It's what you feel on the inside. It's what you feel on the inside, man.
Respect for millennials for being the ones who walk so we could run. Even though they are kind of cringe, they're some of the only people who—
I'll tell you what, my brother still sends me like really old fucking memes on Facebook. Like doggy memes, Doge memes. Like, it's really sweet, but like it doesn't like make me laugh. Cause it used to be kind of the opposite, where like he'd show me a meme and I'm like, ha ha ha, that's so funny. Cause like he's older than me and I was like a little kid. But now he sends me like a Doge meme or I don't fucking know, like some cringy shit, and I'm like, and then if I try to send him a meme, sometimes he just doesn't get it. Again, I do like my brother a lot. I love my brother, but like, it's just funny to me that he's kind of like, he's kind of stuck. He's like kind of like boomer, you know?
Understand what it's like to be in our position. I think
It's
a lot
cute,
of us
though.
just
It's
wish
cute.
that they'd spend less time lecturing us like we're still a bunch of dumb kids and speak to us like adults. A lot of us might still be young, but ultimately millennials are some of our biggest allies when we aren't arguing about who grew up with the better childhood. Millennials also need to learn that sometimes you just gotta let young people have things. We've all seen that one 35-year-old still trying to cling to their youth, making everything awkward. Like, chill, Unc. We know you don't really listen to Cardi like that. It's time for you to get into jazz. The other group Gen Z tends to interact a lot with are Gen X. Mainly because for most of us, this is the generation our parents belong to. Gen X is really interesting because they're kind of like a hybrid between the baby boomers that came before them and the millennials that came after them. They tend to be a little more progressive and open-minded like millennials, but they also have tendencies that remind you that they're still an older, more traditional generation. What's wrong, son? You don't seem like—
Yeah, that's actually a really accurate representation. Like, again, I had a Gen X neighbor that I talked to pretty frequently because I'd walk my dog like at 6 a.m. And he'd be out there warming up his car or something, like in winter, or it's like, you know, summertime, and I'm just like walking my dog and he's like waving at me. And he's like the middle Gen X, I think it was, maybe like a little bit older, but he had kids that were like around about a little bit older than me, and he'd just always be like super open and happy, but at the same time, he's just embarrassed by the government. He was real embarrassed by the government, you know, and then you realize he's kind of old and he doesn't get it when you start talking about like memes and stuff. He tried to tell me to go buy Dogecoin. Yeah, during COVID, he's like, did you see that tweet by Elon Musk? Yeah, I bought myself some Dogecoin and then that fucking thing crashed. And I was like, I feel bad for him. I'm like, you put your money into there? It's funny. It was just funny in a like a cringy dad kind of way. He did strike me as like basically being kind of like my like apartment dad. Like he was really nice.
Like yourself. Yeah, it's just things have been kind of hard lately. I wouldn't say I'm depressed, but I just don't feel okay. Well, son, you can always talk to me about how you feel. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Wow, really? Thanks, Mom. Of course. In fact, I think I know what your problem is. You do? Yeah. It's because you're always on that damn phone.
This but Eastern European style. Oh, you're getting sick because you didn't wear socks when you were walking around the house. And you're just like, what the fuck, man? Shut the fuck up.
Where your generation is just addicted to technology. And that's why you have so many mental health issues.
Yes!
We used to actually talk to people and go out.
Boomers do this, but like 100 million times worse, by the way. You think Gen X is bad too? Combine Gen X with like a non-white like combination and you get like the worst of everything. You get the fucking boomerist. That's why you want that damn phone. I found out that I needed to get glasses and my mom blamed it on video games, even though genetically speaking, the probability of me having bad eyesight is extremely high because both my parents wear glasses. But somehow it's the computer's fault, by the way. That shit pissed me off. I remember we went to the eye doctor with both my parents and they were like looking at me like, this is because of that damn computer. And I'm like, so dad is short-sighted. He can't see far away. And my mom is nearsighted. And that's why you think that I don't statistically should have fucking bad eyesight? Like, are you fucking kidding me? God, man, it's so annoying. Now you're strapping the screen to your face. Oh my fucking god. Okay, yeah, that's what happens. Guys, I don't strap a phone to my face. It's a phone on a stand.
Where are you going? Sit back down. I'm turning this into a lecture. Gen X is kinda in the position the baby boomers were in when the millennials were our age. A lot of them are the ones interviewing us for jobs, running the businesses we work in, and are now running to represent us in our government. Think about that. Our parents are now the ones running the country. Gen X are the—
No, they're not. No, they're not. Unfortunately, if you are a Gen X, they don't run the country yet. All the baby boomers that are in government are not dead yet. I hate to break it to you. All the fucking fossils are gonna be around for another probably like 10 to 15 years before they actually start dying.
The last generation who grew up without the internet, so their generation has a very unique perspective.
Chat, to put it in perspective, Kamala Harris is a Gen Xer, if I remember correctly. And she's like 60 or almost 60. And she's considered young, by the way. Yeah, she's considered young.
They're still really old school and don't always understand things like social media, video games, and pop culture, but they can at least open a PDF on their own after you show them how. But as much as I make fun of my parents for not knowing about newer technology, I still have to ask my mom how to address an envelope whenever I need to mail something. The contrast between Gen Z and Gen X is really starting to show, because now that Gen Z has reached adulthood, our ideas about life are starting to clash. We've grown up seeing people making careers out of things we used to call hobbies. And while a lot of us want to pursue something we're passionate about, our Gen X parents don't always understand. At least not until—
Oh yeah, I told my parents when I was really, really into art and I had a friend that was going to go to art school. And I said I really, 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 really wanted to do art. My parents basically said, you're never going to get a real job. And they crushed my dream. Yeah, I stopped drawing for like 3 or 4 years. My passion for it died. That's mean. It is what it is. Looking back on it, it was not the greatest thing that my parents did. Chat, it's okay. My parents made a lot of mistakes and that's fine. Yeah, my parents immediately shut that shit down. I think I was like 13 or 14 and that shit died so fast.
So you start making money from it. Mom, Dad, I have something I want to tell you. Oh, honey, it's okay. Your father and I always knew you liked boys. Wait, what? No, I'm not coming out. I just think I really want to pursue a career in music. I think I have what it takes to make it. Oh, son, are you sure? You know we support whatever you do, but maybe we should try something a bit more realistic. Yeah, like what happened when you wanted to be a doctor? Dad, the last time I said that I was 4. Besides, one of my songs blew up last month and I made $20K on Spotify. Well, why didn't you just say that? You need to hop in the booth. Wait, stay still. I need to take a picture for everyone on Facebook. My little baby, a hip-hop superstar. I still remember when I used to change your diapers. Mom, I know how frustrating it can be when it seems like your parents don't support your goals. But I try to remember that they only have
That's a supportive family, dog.
Best interest at heart. And for a lot of Gen X, financial security is really important. It seems like parents switch up once you're finally making money, but it's just their way of knowing that you're gonna be okay without them. Gen Z is finally reaching adulthood, and as more of us become adults, I think we are beginning to realize that something is different about us. We're coming in as the most educated generation, we're far less likely to commit crime.
I think people fail to understand that education and being educated are very two different things. Going to college and getting a degree in almost anything does not qualify you to be more educated. It just means you paid for a piece of paper 90% of the time. Unless you're a lawyer, doctor, or an engineer. Or some other stuff. But like it's like exceptions. It depends on the subject.
And we're also more racially and culturally diverse compared to previous generations. But there is this stigma of Gen Z being the generation of hypersensitive, moody, depressed adults. Millennials had oat milk lattes and avocado toast, and Gen Z has mental health days and antidepressants. I think we're going through what boomers went through with cigarettes. Everyone knew that smoking was bad, but didn't realize it was that bad until doctors began linking it to lung cancer. And while hardly any members of Gen Z actually smoke cigarettes, I think we're beginning to see the effects of the first generation raised on social media.
Oh, with like whippets and social media. Yeah. Video games, VR chat. Chat, we're gonna see consequences 60 years down the line. Yeah, it's gonna affect us. We just don't know how yet. Not for sure. This is like speculation at most. The first earliest research is being done right now, and that research that we are doing right now will be affecting the research to come. We're in the early stages of like when people were like, maybe we shouldn't give people lobotomies and like zap them with electricity. Yeah, like this generation and like the later millennials, like they will see it. We're gonna see that shit.
In YouTube videos. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sound like a parent saying the reason you're depressed is because of that phone. What I'm saying is, despite all of these different ways to connect with others online, the world seems like it's becoming more individualistic. We're trading genuine community for online interaction, and I think Gen Z is the biggest casualty of this. We live in a weird time now where everyone feels like they don't owe anyone anything, not even kindness or respect.
America is the biggest problem with this, but it is also trickling down into other countries and other cultures. America is the worst, but it is affecting the whole world. I can't even deny it. Like, I'm pretty sure it happens in like Europe and shit too. Not as bad. And if you go to like outer villages, it's not that bad, but yeah, America's gonna be pretty fucked.
But everyone has walls up and they don't want to let people in. And that's why I think Gen Z is stuck in a loneliness epidemic. And the solution is a bit more complicated than I think people realize. Older generations always preach, young people need to get out there and make friends the old-fashioned way. But even in traditional settings, it can still be hard to connect with people. Okay, team, that's a wrap on that section of the meeting. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, you in the back. Are there any social events in the office? I've just been here a few months and still feel like I don't really know anybody. Oh, that is a great question, young man. We actually have a social event next Wednesday at noon. We're doing 90s trivia. You should come. That sounds great, but I was born in 2000. I don't know anything about the 90s. Ooh, Let's put a pin in that, and we'll circle back and try to synergize a solution. Maybe you give others a chance to piggyback.
That fucking corpo jargon is giving me a headache. The pinning. Circle around. Corpos. I'm gonna vomit.
Even within Gen Z, if you're not someone who's interested in spending your weekends partying or drinking, it's hard to even hang out casually with others. Even dating has a lot of Gen Z feeling really confused. I hear a lot about how Gen Z is very sex negative. And a lot of research shows that Gen Z on average is having a lot less sex compared to other generations.
Well, yeah, why would I have sex when I can get like a fucking, what is it called? An Ona hole or some shit? And goon in VR? Like, why would you have sex? Oh, pocket pussy. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, why would I want to go have sex when I fucking could just like turn on my VR headset and just fucking beat off into a little fucking, what is it called? Yeah, flashlight.
Obviously, the lack of genuine in-person connections makes it difficult to find a partner, but I also think a lot of Gen Z simply doesn't want to participate in hookup culture either. But social media makes it seem like everyone does these things, and that you should too. And if you aren't,
I can't really say. I don't feel pressured to. Maybe I just don't hang out with those kinds of people. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of weird. I don't know. I can't say for myself.
You're weird or a Puritan because you simply don't enjoy hooking up with someone random. So it's not a surprise that a lot of Gen Z adults walk around full of guilt and insecurity from a lifetime.
Is my schmeat big enough?
Of comparing themselves to others on social media.
Oh
Oddly
my
enough,
God.
I don't think Gen Z is avoiding sex or clutching their pearls like a southern grandma at the thought of sleeping with someone. We've had so much sex thrown at us through hookups and adult models desperate to get you to click on their link in bio that I think a lot of us just desire something real. It's damaging for all young people, but speaking as a guy, I think a lot of young men don't have a relationship with women outside of adult content and one-night stands. So a lot of Gen Z is
Your view on women gets warped, very much so. Absolutely.
just seeking closeness with another person. With how hard it is to connect with others now, a lot of us are seeking a kind of intimacy on a more personal level before a physical one. You know, I was thinking we could have a little more fun. What did you have in mind? We could keep the party going in your bed. Oh, I like the sound of...
Oh, yeah.
Hello? Yo, bro, new update just dropped. We running it or what? Tell him.
No!
I'm already there, bro. Send an invite. All right, bro.
Sorry, girls. I've just got too much things to do. We gotta play some Fortnite.
I need a 30-piece with a side of fries. You got me? Oh, on me. I cracked two, bro. They're one shot in there. They're one shot. Another big thing people say about Gen Z is that we're very sensitive, which people usually say to me we're easily offended by things. And I will admit that there are some...
The people that hate me the most are between the ages of like 15 to like 19. No joke. The Twitter haters that I have when I look at their profile, they're 99% of the time under the age of like 20. No, Excalibur's 22. It's like usually under 20, maybe like early 20s. I would say that's the mark. Because they just fucking hate me. They think I'm being insensitive and shit. It's like, oh, I'm not. Like, what are we doing, man?
Younger people who need to grow some thicker skin, but I think that this is a reflection of the reality that Gen Z is a generation that wants to create a culture of respect. The average Zoomer is probably a bit more aware of people's cultural sensitivities compared to previous generations, and I think in general...
Oh my gosh. That interaction right there. Oh my god. Like, I got that one time, so I moved from New Zealand to America, and I had that one time happen to me. There was a girl that said something like, oh, where are you from? And I said, oh, I'm from over here, like, in this area. And she's like, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, well, I was I'm from New Zealand. And so they're like, no, but where are you really from? And I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Like, what? Like, I'm Russian? Like, yeah. I don't identify as Russian. I'm ethnically Russian, sure, but like I've never lived there. Like, it's just so weird. Such a weird thing to like just kind of press on.
Gen Z values empathy and emotional intelligence in their relationships. But it also seems like now that we're older, being nonchalant is the new trend. And I think it's also what's pushing us further apart from each other. Connecting with other people requires you to open yourself up and be vulnerable with others. But a lot of people are so afraid of getting hurt that they'd rather pretend to not care. But this doesn't really work for everyone, because a guy like me will be like, whatever, I don't care, and then I'll go home and cry. But despite all of this, there are still a lot of us who aren't on the same page when it comes to what's acceptable nowadays. We've all got that one friend with no filter that you can't take anywhere. Bro, it's good to see you again. Glad we can catch up. Facts, bro. Life's been crazy.
Oh my God, no.
Crazy. You been good though? Yeah, bro, you know me. I just been chilling. You? Man, let me tell you about this one coworker that's been getting on my nerves. Ah, man, that's the worst. Yeah, I can't stand her fat self. Like, honestly, bro, these fat girls need to shut up. Like,
that's my chat right there.
It's always fat people hating on me. Like, low key, bro, if you're fat, you shouldn't vote. They should put up a scale at the voting booth, and you can't come in if you're too fat. What's everybody looking at? But on the other side of things, there are also a lot of people who try to use their understanding of emotions to take advantage of people as well. Nowadays, it's really common for people to try to weaponize therapy language to justify their own bad behaviors. Hey, I'm not trying to be mean, but our reports are due tomorrow and we still don't have your part yet. Wow. Okay. Crossing my boundaries here. Are you trying to trigger me by bringing up my past traumas? Huh? What are you talking about? I'm just asking about the project. Oh, so now you're gaslighting me, belittling my trauma and acting like a narcissist. What trauma are you talking about? Oh my God, you're gonna make me relive this. In college, I had to submit a report once, and I got a D on it.
Is this real, chat? Is this real? Chat, is this real? I hate people like this. What are you acting like you went through some fucking traumatic experience? Like you had your legs blown off.
Ruined me for years. Okay, that's not trauma. That's just something you didn't like. You're such a manipulator. What? When it comes to Gen Z, I think a lot of times we have a bad habit of using buzzwords like mental health and depression to describe the ways we feel. And they might not always be accurate. And sometimes this leads to older generations thinking we're all moody and can't get anything done. But I don't think Gen Z is more sensitive than previous generations. I even think we've been desensitized to a lot of things thanks to the internet. But I think that we're some of the first to actually have the vocabulary and
that is inaccurate. Gen Zs, I'm pretty sure millennials are the ones that know about the jars. I only learned that through older people. Like friends of friends that had like older sisters and brothers. Yeah. Yeah. And then they learned it from, like, it was either through from my friends who had older brothers and sisters. And they think it's funny. Like Penn Island. Yeah, my friend showed that at school. And then they were like, yeah, I saw that my friends were typing that in with my brother, and my brother's friends were doing it to them, and it was funny. And I was like, oh, just open it up on a phone.
Education necessary to have a dialogue about things like anxiety and depression. 50-year-olds don't really talk about their mental health. That's why you have so many older people who are bitter and easily agitated.
Yeah, and they're
all the
miserable.
Time. They get anxious and depressed too. But outside of therapy, they don't have much of an outlet to talk about these things. Gen Z is pushing for that to change. But unfortunately, this does come with challenges, especially for young Gen Z men. And I know that conversations about men's mental health are usually only brought up to take away from talking about women's mental health, but
no, it's not. Men are allowed to Men aren't allowed to cry. Women are allowed to cry online about their problems and get sympathy. I disagree. Just from like seeing it online.
As a young Gen Z adult man, I'm just asking you to hear me out here. I remember hanging out with my homies one day and I asked them an interesting question. Okay. Yeah, boy, I'm cooking you. Bro, you always cheating, bro. Bro, how am I cheating? You're just buns. Nah, I got next, bro. I'm about to clap you. Yo, bros, random question. What's up, bro? Bro, like, does your dad have friends? What do you mean? Like, does your dad have a bunch of guys he just hangs out with? Kind of like we're doing now. Now that I think about it, I don't think he does. Yeah, mine neither. He just kind of hangs out with my mom and that's it. Yeah, same. You guys think we'll be like that when we're older too? I hope not, because I'm about to hit this dude with the meanest Kamehameha. Bro, come on, that's not fair. And that conversation kind of opened my eyes to the fact that
it's actually really rare for Gen X and boomers to have like a lot of friends. Or like a good friend to hang out with, like the men. Yeah, my mom has like girlfriends to like hang out with and do stuff, but like my dad doesn't really have any now that I think about it. Like maybe one or two, but he doesn't even see them that often. Yeah. Yeah, or his brother. Yeah, his brother.
For a lot of men, it's very easy to find yourself socially isolated. I think that for a lot of guys, balancing work or school, taking care of yourself, and pursuing your personal goals can cause you to withdraw from your community because you're too busy just trying to survive. And I'm not saying this is entirely exclusive to men.
Burnout. You have to have 5 jobs to maintain yourself.
A lot of my female friends have said that they struggle connecting with other women too, because a lot of young women either just want to complain about men or only come to them to talk about their problems and then go ghost once they feel better.
My best friend in high school that I didn't talk to for like a couple of years, I stopped talking to her because like I moved away. She randomly like messages me on Facebook and is complaining about how she can't get away from her kids, and then she just didn't talk to me again. And I was like, what the fuck? Like she asked me like, oh, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And she's like, yeah, I'm trying to get away from my kids. Don't have kids. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I jokingly like brushed it off and I said, oh, I can't be that bad. You love your kids. You post about it on Instagram and Facebook all the time. It wasn't like trauma dumping, but she was like saying, oh, you know, they're trying to like, I can't get away from them and I'm in this room texting you. And I'm like, okay. Is that all? Is that it? Did you need anything else? And then she never talked to me. It's been like months.
But unfortunately, as a guy, that's not a perspective I can really comment meaningfully on. I do know that at least for women, they do tend to rely on each other more than men do when they're going through things.
Very true.
And I wish more men felt the same way. Instead, a lot of young guys are conditioned to think that the world doesn't care about their problems, so they never reach out for support. So when you're laying in that king-size bed with no queen, sometimes you gotta turn on the goth girlfriend ASMR.
No, not the ASMR! Oh, I wish I could give everyone just a big ol' fucking hug. Like, split myself into a million pieces. You know what I'm saying? I do feel bad. Genuinely, I do. I wish everyone could just find themselves like an Alana. Like, realistically, chat, like, realistically think about it. I can't be everybody's fucking wife and girlfriend. It's impossible. Like, it's just, like, sad to think about. Like, I can't help everyone.
Roleplay and cry yourself to sleep. However, I wish that this was something that was completely harmless, but unfortunately, I think we all know that some guys have unhealthy ways of dealing with their problems, and they do and say things that are harmful to others.
Or drugs,
Incel is a word that's been thrown around a lot recently to describe guys that have these beliefs, and this might be a hot take, but I don't believe most of these guys truly are hopeless rejects. I know having empathy for what's associated with some of the worst parts of this ideology is hard, but I think the truth is that a lot of young men are simply just misguided. We know that
I don't think it's an ideology. I think it's a culture shift. It's been said so many times, like hard times create weak, good times create weak men, man. Like, and weak men create hard times. It sucks, but it's true. We are cycling.
Being a Gen Z adult is a challenging and confusing time. And I think that a lot of young men are seeking guidance for handling these challenges. Things like bettering yourself, financial success, mental health, personal fitness, finding happiness and fulfillment in life, and yes, even getting a girlfriend are all struggles young people face. And a lot of times, you're gonna fail when you're chasing these things. Sadly, for a lot of young men, there isn't anyone there to help them pick themselves back up when they do. So a lot of guys feel abandoned when they're trying their hardest to be their best. No one is talking to young men. And sadly, the only ones reaching.
I've said this before, but my big bro, before he hit the love of his life, his wife, he basically conceded to the fact that he would die alone. He had a really miserable conversation with me at one point. We were like sitting on the couch, this was like years ago. But sometimes, like, it doesn't matter if it's like your generation or it's like your older generation or it's like sucks to suck. Everyone goes through it, even older people. I'm sure there's boomers out there who experienced what you have to. Yeah, you just have to hold out hope, man. Don't let the hope die, man.
Reaching out to them are influencers and podcasters with a harmful agenda. Thanks for letting me borrow your calculator, bro. You really came in clutch for me. No problem, bro. I was just chilling watching this new podcast.
Oh, no.
Dude, you're watching these guys? You gotta turn that kind of stuff off. You're gonna be scaring the shinies.
Fuck women!
Bro, it's not even that bad. They just talk about self-improvement. Welcome back to Trad and Chad, the show where we hate women and you should too. Bro, it's
yeah, fuck women!
It's just jokes, bro. Just keep watching. Listen, guys, you can't just be laying in bed all day. You need to get up and do something productive with your day. You can't sit around doing nothing wondering why your life isn't getting better. See, bro, they're all about positivity. And also, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Men are clearly way smarter than them. Look here. Research shows that boys go to college to get more knowledge and girls go to Jupiter to get more
stupider. Yes!
Exactly.
This guy's speaking to me.
Exactly. And liberals want you to think. You were saying? Okay, I didn't expect them to say all that. Mental health for guys is tricky because I think a lot of men's mental health advocates are really just preying on vulnerable young men for financial gain. They aren't actually trying to help, but are instead turning young men's pain into prejudice.
But there are men that actually want to help. Their monetary gain is the secondary. It's just there's certain people that it's really, really obvious that they're doing it, okay? Men want to help other men. They do, genuinely.
And feeding them a toxic ideology that only further alienates them from their community. I think a big mistake a lot of guys make is thinking that they need to do everything alone. So many young men decide they want to make a change in their life and they immediately shut themselves away and try and lock in. But honestly, this is the most counterproductive way to go about it. Isolation isn't the answer, community is. No matter what your goals are, you'll reach them a lot faster if you work with other people to get there. Whether you want to get jacked, chase your dreams, or even find someone to love.
Fun fact, in China, there's still a lot of community within cities. Even though COVID happened and there's a lot of social media, you think that social media is a part of Americans' lives? In China, it's that much more and like in excess even, I would argue, because that's where TikTok came from. Like they have their own TikTok and it's crazy over there. But at least they go outside and they have their little community. They eat a lot more out more often and they have little restaurants. It's a different society. And again, I think in America, we've kind of lost the fucking plot, in my opinion.
The dorkiest, most introverted guy can get a girl if he has the right homies in his corner to bring out the best in him. I know that if you're a young guy who genuinely tries his best to be a good person, it can be really confusing when the sentiment you hear from other people is that you're trash and that it's your fault the world is the way it is. I think all of us in Gen Z have heard that a million times regardless of gender. It seems unfair when you're blamed for the actions of other people you've never even met for things you would never even do. But I think of it like a house on fire. Even if you didn't set it on fire, if you're not doing something to help put it out, you're still kind of just letting it burn.
I mean, it really sucks hearing like from people all the time on social media that everything is women's fault and we should repeal the 19th. Like, unironically, people do think that we should go back to, like, having women be basically, like, just, like, property. That's, like, dowried out by, like, the male of the family. That shit fucking sucks. Like, I don't think that's the solution, bro. Like, I'm joking and shit. Like, obviously, God forbid I make a joke every now and then about, like, frick women and, like, repeal the 19th. But, like, unironically, it's the same thing, but on the different side of the coin of, like, all women are trash, yas queen, girl boss. Where the other side is, like, fuck women, they're just property and they should stay in the kitchen and shut the fuck up and never talk. Like, god damn it, man.
You might not be a firefighter who's ready to rush into action to put it out yourself, but there are still other ways we can all be useful. I'm not saying you need to be a pick-me and take accountability for things that aren't even
That's
your
what
fault.
I am, right,
I'm just saying that you have the ability to choose how other people view you on an individual level. And you don't need to do it alone. You shouldn't expect to do it alone either. I know I said before that Gen Z is finding it hard to connect with each other, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there looking for it. I think Gen Z's greatest strength right now is the power of choice. Throughout our entire childhood, the world was constantly transforming. And now that we're adults, we're walking into what is basically uncharted territory, meaning that we get to decide what the future holds. I think that embracing community is something we should do more. Individuality is important, it's how we express ourselves. But we shouldn't be afraid to share ourselves with others too. When I go to the store, my mom always expects me to bring her back a chocolate bar. And for a while, I didn't really understand why. If she wanted a chocolate bar so bad, why doesn't she ever just buy one herself? But I realized she was teaching me a lesson about thoughtfulness. And if I was at the store getting things for myself, maybe I should think of someone else for a second too. A chocolate bar costs about $1. And that's a pretty small price to pay to make someone else's day that much brighter. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, and thanks for 40K. Peace.
Aw, his mom sounds nice. He's ahead of the curve. I'll be realistic. I disagreed with one little point he had, which is okay. But, you know, he's got a good head on his shoulders for the most part. Guys, check him out. Suburbanwill. Very nice. Good watch. I enjoyed that. Enjoyante.
Oh, yeah.